It is the dawning of a new era in 16th century Spain. Spanish hearts swell with pride as the throne of Spain wields its powerful sword over the known world. Her territories expand, as does the influence, power, and wealth of her church. In the West, Columbus offered dominion over a new continent to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, Los Reyes Católicos de España. Cortés conquered Mexico in 1519, and in 1521 Ferdinand Magellan stumbled upon the pearl of the Orient Seas, the Philippines. In 1524, Pizarro conquered Peru, and its vast wealth soon flowed generously into the Spanish coffers. It was a time of glory, a time of turbulence. In Germany, the rebel monk Martin Luther was excommunicated as he stubbornly swept aside the dogma of the powerful Catholic Church and the social convention. In England, Henry VIII married Anne Boleyn, and his infamous royal divorce ended in the separation of the Church of England from Rome. It was an era of heresy and abuse, but also an era of great faith. It was the reign of the dreaded Spanish Inquisition and its abuses, religious suppression and dissolution of monasteries, but it was also the age of Reformation, the return to grace, particularly in the mitigated order of Carmel in Spain. This was also the century blessed with the presence of a Reformator nun in the convent of the Incarnation in Avila, the woman immortalized by the sculptor Bernini in the Church of Santa Maria della Vittoria in Rome. The mystic saint and first woman doctor of the Catholic Church, Doña Teresa de Ahumada y Cepeda.
I am Doña Juana Suarez, one of 180 nuns living in a convent of Avila in Spain, a Carmelite convent of the mitigated order known as the Incarnation. It was towards the end of October in 1536 when I stood waiting at the convent door, waiting for a friend who was coming to join our community that day. Little did I know that day my life would change. No, in fact, our life as Carmelites would change. Or, to put it more accurately, her arrival at the Incarnation that day would be like the coming of light to the mitigated order of Carmel that was suffering from the spiritual darkness of mediocrity and materialism. Of course, no one realized that except years later. I was there to welcome my friend, mi amiga Teresa. With me was a crowd of young novices, more curious than sincere, for Teresa's reputation as a wealthy, headstrong, and lovely young lady was common knowledge in Avila. Even before her arrival, her decision to enter the convent had created a stir. She was my friend, and knowing her, I myself wondered, Teresa? A nun? How could that be? But that is jumping ahead of my story.
On Wednesday, the 28th day of March, in the year 1515, About half an hour after 5 o'clock in the morning, with the first rays of sunrise, Teresa, my daughter, was born. Thus, Don Alonso Sanchez y Cepeda, native of Toledo, and man of noble birth and dignity, records his daughter Teresa's entry into the world. The church bells of Santo Domingo are heard from the distance, followed by the ringing of all the bells of Avila, the cathedral, the convents from the Benedictines to the Carmelite fathers, from the Poor Clares to the Augustinian nuns of Our Lady of Grace, from the Franciscan sisters to the Dominican friars of Santo Tomas, from the Cistercians to the Dominicans of Santa Catalina. The old stones echo with the bronze voices of all the saints of the city. For, as the saying goes, in Avila there is nothing but saints and stones. In the Omada y Cepeda household, as in the households of Avila, the children developed a taste for adventure, war, and glory early in life. They were products of Spain's greatest times. Don Alonso from Toledo, and now an Hidalgo of Avila, bore two illustrious names, Sanchez of Castile, Aragon and Navarre, and Cepeda, made glorious by Don Vasco Vazquez de Cepeda, Lord of the place, who had fought with Alfonso XI, redresser of wrongs, at the siege of Gibraltar. Teresa was 5 when tales of the revolt by the Comuneros filled the air. Doña Beatriz, Alonso's second wife and Teresa's young mother, loved to read her favorite stories of chivalry and romance to her young daughter.
At 21, Teresa decided to enter the convent of the Carmelite nuns of the Mitigated Rule. Her father was completely opposed to giving her up again, even to God. "Over my dead body," Don Alonso declared. It was a bitter step to make, but nothing could stop Teresa, not even her father, whom she loved dearly. She escaped, persuading her younger brother to escape at the same time she did. Antonio joined the Dominicans to become a friar preacher, and Teresa asked me to meet her at the convent gates of La Encarnacion on that blessed day in October in 1536. I was convinced Teresa had put her past behind her. What I did not know was that my friend had come to the convent not out of great love for God, but simply out of reason, out of great fear of eternal punishment for her sins. Teresa, do you really like it here?
I believe this is a most reasonable decision I've made. You could say a compromise, but that's the truth. Here, I am free of the problems of being a wife and mother. On the other hand, I am a nun, without the strict penances of Doña Maria's convent. I think it's a good choice, even if my body says otherwise. There is joy in knowing that I've chosen this life and freedom in giving up the pleasures I've been used to.
Teresa, sometimes I think you try too hard. Your fainting spells have become too frequent, and the other sisters talk about your exaggerated penances and indiscreet fastings and vigils. You're my friend, and I hate listening to them say, it is simply vanity that makes you punish your body so much. You frighten even me.
My wickedness torments me, Juana, and I am angry with myself. I have therefore begged our Lord to allow me to share His sufferings. I know my doctors find no cause for my fainting spells, and the pains in my heart are deeper than what they can understand. But you know, it is quite simple. It is only my Lord answering my prayer to suffer with Him.
But Teresa, to serve God, you also need a healthy body. I'm glad that Don Alonso has asked to bring you to Bethesda's for treatment. They say the curadora there has an excellent reputation, having cured some very desperate and strange cases in the past. Mother Prioress has asked me to accompany you to Bethesda's. On our way there, we could visit with your sister Maria at Castellanos de la Cañada while we wait for spring. The curadora insists that only then will the herbs you need for your treatment be available.
Juana, it is a cure I do not want, but one that I shall make in obedience. We could visit Uncle Pedro at Ortigosa. It has been 7 years since I saw him last. It is perhaps God's plan that I see him again, since I so badly need to be helped with my struggles with prayer, and he is just the right person to help me.
At Ortigosa, it was a happy reunion between Teresa and her uncle. My friend revealed details of her interior life to him, particularly her discouragement with her lukewarm and often distracted vocal prayer. Don Pedro gifted Teresa with a book by Padre Fray Francisco de Osunia. The third spiritual alphabet was a gift that she would always treasure, for it initiated her into recollection and mental prayer. She learned to pray without words, until her heart spoke directly to the Lord. She emptied her heart of everything created and learned to love everything only in God and for God. Her rebellious nature began to wake, and little by little, as she struggled, she received the precious gift of union with Christ, her master and spouse. Teresa did not really know what it meant then to receive such special favors from the Lord, and it gave her happiness, but also much pain at the same time.
Papa, I want to make my confession. Please, Papa, a priest, now?
Later, Teresa, when you're better.
Please, Papa, now?
Please, Don Alonso. She wants to make her confession. May I call a priest now?
No, she is not dead. She can't be dead. No, not Teresa.
Don Alonso! Don Lorenzo!
Water, water, water.
It was a miracle, and she thanked him with renewed gratitude. But as she herself would describe it later, the lavish celebration in his honor displayed more vanity than spirituality. I was so eager to make a brilliant impression. The devil was not sleeping. Teresa's miraculous recovery attracted people to her, and soon she settled down to the normal, busy life of the Incarnation. For almost 20 years, she was tossed like a ship at sea, up and down, directionless. She struggled to pray, and then she began to see herself clearly. The woman she was, and the woman God needed her to be. He never let go, even at her worst. Teresa! 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 Are you all right? You frightened me.
Such joy and pain. Untan alegria y aliaveth dolor. Overwhelming joy and pain. As if I were drowning. Oh, Juana, how can I explain this?
Pope Eugenius IV had mitigated the rigors of the primitive rule in 1432, 20 years before women were admitted into the Carmelite order. Through the years, Carmel, which had always been a stronghold for penance and prayer, deteriorated into a house for lonely bachelors and unmarried women. Silence in the convent gave way to the noise of the world. The nuns enjoyed more liberties and found their greatest pleasure is in secular things and the company of courtiers. Overpopulation in the convents strained their resources, which led them to extended visits to friends and relatives as well as benefactors. Soon, most of them slowly lost interest in prayer and lost touch with God. At La Encarnacion, there was strong opposition from the nuns at the news of Teresa's plan for reformation. Understandably, such a move was not flattering for the mitigated Carmelites. It was downright insulting. The nuns ridiculed Teresa, believing she was crazy and deserved to be punished for her pride and ambition. The friars were just as furious, threatened for their daily bread. Another convent dependent on alms would anger the people, who were beginning to feel the famine and poverty. But Padre Ibanez gave Teresa the greatest encouragement and affirmation to go ahead with the work of reformation. What the prioress did not know was that Teresa had made up her mind to obey Padre Ibanez. She bought a house in the name of Maria and Juan Ovalle. The prioress had allowed her to help the family settle down, not suspecting that this was to be the very first Reformed convent in Avila. Preparations were now being made for the opening of the convent of St. Joseph in Avila on August 24, 1562, 26 years after we had welcomed her to La Encarnacion.
Whatever have I done? What if I don't find some money to feed them? My Lord, what now? I have obeyed you. Please take care of your children.
The more the problems come, the greater the reward. Remember, Teresa, you are mine and I am yours. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing affright you. I am He.
My daughters, the prioress demands that I return to the Incarnation immediately.
Mother, what shall we do without you? The villagers hate us. We have no work, no food.
Have faith, my daughters. Saint Joseph will take care of you. Ursula de los Santos will be the prioress of this house. This is your chance to suffer for Christ, and mine too. I must leave for the Incarnation at once.
Mother, must you leave so soon? I'm not sure I can do this.
Have you forgotten, my daughters, how many souls are being lost in Spain? Father Maldonado has reminded us of the great harvest work that awaits the Church in the missions. Since we cannot go to help them there, let us do our best with the little we can share with our church here. Prayer is our weapon, silence our stronghold, and mortification our strategy. We must build more powerhouses of prayer. But now I must go, or Mother Maria, in her anger, will come herself to drag me to the Incarnation. Wouldn't that be ridiculous?
Meanwhile, back at San Jose, the commotion goes on for another 6 months until Teresa returns. She directs the convent for the next 5 years, teaching her nuns how to pray and do penance in strict enclosure and silence. In 1567, Padre Juan Bautista Robeo, Master General of the Carmelites, visited San Jose. He was greatly edified by the silence, the humility and life of prayer of the Reformed community. He gave Teresa patents to found more reform houses for nuns and friars. The movement began to attract not just the women, but also the priests.
On November 28, 1568, the little house at the Ruelo was declared a Discalced Carmelite monastery. In a simple ceremony, Father John of Matthias changed his name to John of the Cross. He, Friar Anthony of Jesus, and Friar Jose de Cristo began to live the primitive rule. The reform of the Carmelite friars would spread to Italy and then the whole world. In the meantime, Teresa continued to found her convents in Medina del Campo, Malagon, Valladolid, and Toledo.
Open the doors!
Open the doors!
Sor Teresa has been appointed Prioress of La Encarnacion.
No, we cannot accept her.
Go away!
No way!
Let her in.
Go away!
Open the
let
doors!
us. Don't need her!
Teresa, you should not have come. They resent your appointment as Prioress of La Encarnacion. They are demanding to hold an election.
My friend, this is an imposition even on me. I would have been happier in one of our humble reform convents, but I had to come. Out of obedience to the Lord through our superiors.
I, Brother
don't
Angel
want
de
her.
Salazar,
No, we don't want her.
Provincial of the
Never.
Order of Our Lady of Mount
Never.
Carmel,
We
on
cannot
behalf of the
accept her.
Provincial
No,
Council,
never.
and with approval of the Most Reverend Apostolic Commissary, have been entrusted to appoint as Prioress of the Convent of the Incarnation in Avila, Mother Teresa de Jesus, issued in Avila in the year of our Lord, 1571.
We want her and we love her. La necesitamos. La amamos.
La amamos! We love her!
Te
Deum laudamus,
Te Dominum confitemur, Te eternum Patrem, omnis terra veneratur.
13 years before, Teresa had asked me to join her at San Jose. Although we remained the best of friends, I knew we were made for different things. I decided to remain at the Incarnation while she chose to follow the Lord, the more difficult road of the Reformation, its risks, its adventures, but also its rich blessings. Her physical sufferings worsened through the years and would have stopped a weaker soul from doing all that she had done. To Teresa, they were just another way to God, whom she had finally discovered, and to whom she was eternally united in prayer. From her daughters and sons, she learned what she had taught them: humility, obedience, love for God and neighbor. Looking back, she had found what she first sought in her childhood, a love that was complete and forever.
In her lifetime, Teresa had founded 17 reform houses for nuns and friars. At 60 and in retirement, she had written her autobiography, The Foundations and Other Minor Works. 2 years later, she wrote The Interior Castle, her most important contribution to the Church's theology of prayer. All of her writings were done in obedience. The struggle between the Discalced and the Calced orders worsened after the death of Padre Rubeo. In 1581, Philip II ordered the separation of the two provinces, and the chapter of Alcala confirmed the constitution, giving the convents of the Discalced autonomy from the mitigated order. Teresa returned to San Jose as prioress and founded 2 more convents, but her battle, ordered by God, had been won.
It is so sad that we who have promised ourselves to the Lord have abused the little freedoms that we enjoy. My daughters, for the love of God, I pray you, observe the rule and do not follow my bad example. I ask you to forgive me. A contrite and humble heart, O God, you will not despise.
Sor Teresa, do you want to be taken back to Avila after your death?
Padre, what kind of a question is that? Do I have anything at all that I own? Can't they be kind enough to give me a bit of earth here? This is how you, Lord, treat your friends. No wonder you have so few. Lord, I am a daughter of the Church. A daughter of the Church. My bridegroom and Savior, Señor mío, this is the long-awaited moment for me to see you. Let us go. It is time to go home.
She had loved much and was loved much in turn. Amor con amor se paga.
On October 4, 1582, at Alba de Tormes, in the arms of her beloved daughter, Sister Ana de San Bartolome, Sister Teresa of Jesus went home to her spouse. She was 67. On March 12, 1622, she was canonized and given the title Doctor of the Church, the highest honor ever given to a woman. Marcel Auclair, who wrote Teresa of Avila, could not have described her better. On the spiritual plane, she was a true conquistador in the spirit of her times. She had found the passage joining contemplation and action, as did Magellan, who found the strait joining the two oceans. She drew up the chart of the spiritual universe, as did Mercator, who produced the first globe in 1541. Teresa was the eagle who soared high and far beyond the walls of Avila and the boundaries of Spain. She was a woman in every way, gentle, caring, but strong, ahead of her times. She was humble and respectful of the men who in their own ways either led or misled her, but in her purity and holiness, she equaled the saints among them and towered over most of them. She was physically ill most of her life, but this physical weakness only strengthened the determination of her intellect and will to love. 4 centuries later, all of Teresa's 17 foundations continue to be in existence through her spiritual sons and daughters in the discalced convents of Carmelite nuns and friars. She continues to teach us how to pray with our hearts and find the God within us and in those around us. Like her master, she was a living reproach to those who courted evil, but a magnet for souls who sincerely searched for God. All her life, she was a pilgrim on a journey. Ella es nacida por Dios. One long, painful, but glorious journey back to that dawn in March 1515, when, through the love between Don Alonso and Doña Beatriz, she was born for God. As a tribute to this great woman, let us remember that we too are born for God and God alone.